Joshua Rush is an 18-year-old actor and activist, and he is best known for his role as Cyrus on the Disney Channel show Andi Mack. He is also the founder of News in a Rush on Instagram.
How did you get into acting, and how did kids like me start acting?
Yeah, totally. So I started acting when I was very, very young. My mom noticed that I really loved to be in front of the camera, and my mom worked in local news there in Houston, and it just kind of was a natural progression because she already knew a lot of people who worked in kind of the on-camera field. And she said, well, okay, let's try and get him an agent. Let's get him an acting coach in Houston. And it started like that. And I worked and I got lucky a lot. I mean, a lot of it's luck. Like, I don't lie to people and say that it's like all talent. No, it's a ton of it is luck.
How did you balance acting with school?
Badly a lot of the time. Ryan can probably tell you, Ryan and I, we spent 6th, 7th, and 8th grade together. We were friends. But I would leave school kind of unexpectedly a lot. I would miss a lot of different classes. When that was back when I was in real school, when I transitioned into high school out of middle school, I went to a online high school, and that helped a lot because all of a sudden I didn't have to be at school from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I could basically do it whenever I wanted. So while we worked on Andi Mack, I was required by law to have 3 hours of school every day. But beyond that, because, that's not really enough to get all of your work done. So beyond that, I kind of just found myself, getting home at 8 or 9 p.m. and then doing school until 10 or 11 at night.
Did you make any friends when you were acting in Andi Mack?
We shot the show in Salt Lake City, and none of us had ever lived there before. None of us really knew anybody there. And so when you kind of get tossed out of nowhere into an environment like that, and you're in a city that you don't really know and you don't know anybody there, it's crazy because you really have to lean on each other and you really have to rely on each other in a way that I don't think would have really happened if we had been shooting the show in LA. So I love those people. I'd trust them with my life. I would do anything for them. And I'm incredibly close with them, and we still talk all the time.
What was it like to play Disney's first gay character? And did you get letters from kids who were finally feeling the courage to come out?
Yeah, so many letters. I just had like box after box after box of just letters that I received. Throughout the entire show, I had an open like fan mail address that people could mail to. And I just kind of collected them and I mailed back as much as I could I wrote back to as many people as I could. And somebody made 1,000 paper cranes to save our show and hand wrote a different reason why the show should be saved and who sent it in on all 1,000 of them. But like things like that happened, and it's such a crazy reminder of how like we were just going to work every day. We were just doing our jobs, and it was a really fun, really cool job. But meanwhile, there's like real people out there who are really being affected and inspired and just affected, for lack of a better word, by the stuff that we were doing just every day, just doing our job. I think it's really cool, and it was not a responsibility that I ever took lightly, and it was always a responsibility that I felt really honored to have. Well, one of the things we talk about often in like media in general is like representation saves lives. This idea that when people see representations of themselves on screen, it validates them as a human person and makes them feel valid. That's so true. Like there are so many people out there who might be living in states and cities that they have never had positive representation of positive representation of an LGBTQ person in media before. And what an incredible opportunity we had to like share these things for the first time with some of these people. It was crazy. If I never get to do anything as impactful as that in my lifetime ever again, then I have done everything, and I am so glad that I did it.
Have you ever seen yourself on a show dubbed in a foreign language? And if yes, was it funny?
I went to Disney Channel France and I did some promotions with them. And while I was there, I got to actually meet the person who was dubbing Cyrus, my character, into French. And I got to watch an episode or a little piece of an episode get dubbed live. And it was so funny because it was like I was like 16 or 17 at the time. and it was like a grown 30-year adult man who was like, "Bonjour, je suis Cyrus." It was so it was so funny. It was so cool. Those people do crazy jobs. I really wanted to dub Cyrus, and I really wanted to dub some of my voiceover characters into Spanish, and I never got the opportunity to because I speak Spanish not well, but I do. But never got the chance to.
Out of all the projects, which one is your most favorite one you've worked on?
Wow. That is like asking do any of you guys have siblings? Yeah. Have you ever asked your parents which child is their favorite child?
No.
No, you wouldn't, because you know what? They wouldn't answer. First of all, if they had a favorite child, they wouldn't say. And second of all, they probably don't, because they love them all so much. So listen, I love all the projects that I've been able to work on. Andi Mack was obviously incredibly close to my heart just because of the experience of working 4 years with 4 people that you love so, so very much. But all of my projects are amazing, and I love them all very much.
So I hear you will be starting college at NYU. Congratulations. How do you feel about starting college during a pandemic?
Yeah. Well, I am going to be taking a gap year. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be going to college this year. I'm gonna hang out for a year. I'm gonna work in politics, and I'm gonna kind of just enjoy a year of kind of not really doing too much of anything.
How has COVID-19 changed your life as a student and an actor?
Oh gosh, significantly less than I think a lot of other people. I know a lot of my friends who work on crew have been a lot more affected than I have. Because I mean, I haven't been acting that much anyway. I've been doing a lot of voiceover work. I think the biggest thing that's changed is I'm now doing a lot of voiceover work sitting in my closet there, because that's like the best place for audio quality in my house for some reason. But that's it. Yeah, I think there's some organizations that are doing some really important, really awesome work, like the Actors Fund, to make sure that our friends who work on Broadway, which is not coming back for at least the end of the year, they're doing some incredible work to make sure that people stay afloat during this very strange time. But, like people are thinking a little too much about, I think, the actors and stuff, but there's the ushers and the crew and the lighting and the construction people. I mean, the entertainment industry is so huge, and there's a lot of people who don't potentially have the means and the money to fall back on in these times. So support the Actors Fund. They're really cool, and they're supporting a lot more than just actors right now.
Can you tell us about News in a Rush?
Yeah, so yes, News in a Rush was a program that I started not last year, but the year before. I took it and I was like, well, okay, let's try to explain concepts in the news in a minute or less in a way that kids can understand. And people ended up really liking it. So I did that for a little while. And then recently I pivoted, and I've stopped to allow focus on the Black Lives Matter protest right now. But they'll eventually start back up. I've been doing twice weekly candidate conversations with candidates for office across the United States, which has been really cool. And you can check those out on my Instagram at Joshua Rush.
That was really cool seeing you at the Detroit presidential debate.
Yes, I was in Detroit. It was really fun. I saw Michelle at the Democratic presidential debate in Detroit.
Where do you get all your information and topic ideas for News in a Rush?
Oh God, all over the place. I am a very big news junkie, so I think that personally, if you have the time and the energy to do it, the best way to get news is to find a bunch of reporters that you love and follow them on Twitter and make a bunch of Twitter lists. I have 50 to 60 different Twitter lists that are all different types of reporters who cover different beats. I really like using Vox because they have a really great format of breaking down the news, but their news coverage is a little biased. So whatever you read there, if you really want to get like serious, unbiased coverage, look at Reuters, look at AP, look at NPR. Those guys are always doing really great stuff. PBS NewsHour as well does really awesome stuff. So, verify, cross-check, and somewhere often in the middle of what a lot of different places are reporting, that's where the truth is, and that's where You got to find that truthful middle ground. I covered Eric Garcetti's 2017 inauguration for KidScoop Media.
So 2020 is a big election year with House and Senate races, as well as the presidential election. Will you be volunteering for any campaign? And will you be doing more News in a Rush covering the campaigns?
Yeah, so I don't think that the original News in a Rush format is going to continue to happen. I think it did a lot of good. Hopefully eventually we get some real like serious funding behind it and we can make it into like a serious show. That's the like big overarching dream goal. But
What are the issues most important to you in this election?
oof. Well, I think for me, it's always been about a lot of the progressive policies and a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders brought to the table. So it's all about making sure that we have got representatives in office who are going to be fighting for the common person, who are going to be fighting for the working class. It's about Medicare for all. It's about a Green New Deal so that my generation, our generation, and the next generation has got a livable planet. It's about a jobs guarantee, a homes guarantee, these policies that we need right now more than ever in the richest country in the history of the world that we can afford.
Whether Democrat or Republican, how can kids get involved in this historical election?
Definitely. Well, first it's about getting informed. So reading lots of news and finding out the information that matters to you and learning about the policies that matter to you. And then it's about getting involved. It's literally a two-step process. It's get informed and it's get involved.
Lastly, what do you do in your free time?
I'm nerdy about politics and I'm nerdy about coffee and I like to cook. I like to cook really complicated dishes that are very ornate. I like to make, I do about a 7-hour pasta bolognese that I love to do. That's one of my signature dishes. Right now I'm planning on doing a little 5-course meal that I'm going to serve to some friends of mine. We're going to do like 6 feet apart outdoor dinner and I'm really excited for that. So yeah, all sorts of cool stuff. Love to cook and love to like also just generally like experiment with like complicated things.
In this time, have you been making a lot of connections to people out there who want to vote or who are fans of you?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that's been really cool is I have connected with a ton of people on Twitter and have been able to get them excited about Ed Markey and his Senate race in Massachusetts. People are hyped about it. People feel happy about it and excited about it. And I feel like I have a little part in like getting people excited about him and his candidacy and about having this like climate champion and equal rights champion and equitable solutions champion. Anyway, so we've had a bunch of like my like Twitter stands and Twitter fans get involved in Phone Bank, and I love seeing the DMs from them, and they're like, yeah, I just did my first phone banking session and I talked to this family and they were so excited. I'm like, yeah, this is how we win together. This is how we win. It's when we all show up together, and that's how we win. We all show up. You can see my candidate conversations and most of my projects that I do on Instagram, where I'm at Joshua Rush, and I talk about just politics all day on my Twitter, which is also at Joshua Rush. So if you want to be annoyed by my like 1,000 tweets a day, basically, that's the place to be, is at Joshua Rush.
I want to say thank you so much, Josh, for being here. It was so fantastic.
Thank you guys so much for having me. You guys did amazing. Y'all are awesome interviewers.
Thank you, and have a safe journey to